Julian here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make burial style ambience. As usual, you can get the project file and samples from this video in the description for free, so make sure to check that out. And yeah, let's dive in. So, this is what I'm going to be showing you in this tutorial. So the first layer I have here is this pad. It sounds like this. And the way I made this is basically it's just an A minor chord, pretty standard. I didn't even put the third up an octave. And then we have this extra A on top here. This is just to add a little bit of depth. Since it's just the root note of the chord, it's not really gonna add any kind of new like thing with the voice or anything like that. But yeah, it's just adding a little bit of depth to the chord and a little bit of extra tonality. As far as the synth sound goes, I just have two saw waves and analog here. I detuned the second one a little bit, and then I have that going into, or both of those going into a low pass filter. No envelope, as you can hear. This is just to cut, but still keep a little bit of that harmonic content in the top. And then I have the amp envelope set like this, so just gave it a little bit of attack, so it will go in smoothly. And then I have some vibrato, some unison, and some chorus. So this is something I want to talk about a little bit real quick, is I think these are very important. If you want to create burial style pads with synths, it's all about getting like, you know, that vibe and that texture and that sort of feel. So a great way to do that is with these kind of effects, which make it sound kind of like old and warbly. If I turn them off, you can hear it still kind of has that vibe. It still sounds like sort of old. But I feel like these really help give it that kind of like sampled burial style vibe. And another thing is you'll notice there's no reverb or delay or anything like that on this pad. Since it's just holding out the whole time, it really doesn't need it. And that's something that I think is important, because I think a lot of people think you just need to drench everything in reverb for this style. I mean, I'm guilty of this myself in the past. But really, I've learned that you can get away with a lot of like not using reverb if you just know how to make your sounds atmospheric in other ways. So like, in this case, it's a pretty atmospheric chord because the A minor is just kind of a nice, sad chord that hangs over top of everything, and it fits in the full mix, you know. So the next layer I have here is this little street recording. It sounds like this. So this is just some Foley noise. I put it through this EQ8, so here it is raw. And then I just put this sort of bandpass filter on it, because the thing is, with this style, it's very good to layer up Foley sounds. Like you see, I have this street recording and some cassette noise and some vinyl noise. It's really good to layer them. The only thing is that when you are layering noises like this, they tend to be very like full frequency. Like frequency spectrum wise, they tend to be very sort of full. So it's important to filter them and sort of like focus everything in its own sort of area. You can see if you look at these, they all have different bandpass filters on them, and they're all sort of focusing on a different area. And yeah, this is just to keep it clean and keep, you know, just make sure that everything is adding something new as opposed to just sort of adding to what's already there. So the next layer is this cassette noise. And like I said, that's got a filter on it. Here it is raw. And then yeah, so I just put a bandpass on it, and then I added this erosion to make it a little bit more crunchy. You can like barely hear it, but when you play the full mix, you can hear that kind of like crunchy erosion cassette noise sound. So yeah, I just have that on there. And then I have this vinyl noise, which is bandpass. And as you can hear, I'm bandpassing this one to mostly just let through those little crackles. So yeah, there we go. So this is kind of what I was talking about before, is like each one of these does its own thing. Like this is just sort of in there as like a, you know, it's just in the background. Like that's sort of our main Foley noise. And then this one adds like that little bit of crunchiness. And then this one just has this little crackles. So it's a nice little stack there. So the last layer I have here is this vocal chop, which sounds like this. And the way I made this was pretty simple. Basically, I took this part. It's this one vocal sample I had. So I just took that, and what I did was I pitched it up +2 to fit the key of this, which is A minor. And then I took the second one just by taking that little no like this. I just took that and dragged it over, and then I pitched that down 3 semitones, because if you look at this first one, it's at 2 semitones up, and then the second one is 1 semitone down from 0. So yeah, just 3 semitones down. And this is something I also want to talk about. Is like, with vocal chops, sometimes it can be hard to find a lot of different vocal chops, like for your track. Like, if you find a really cool one in like an acapella or something, there may not be any other cool moments in that acapella or whatever. Like, you may have to get kind of crafty with it. So this is an example of that, where I was able to take this, just as one little thing of someone saying no, no. And I kind of made it into like a thing. Like, obviously, you may have to go a little bit deeper with this on a full track, but I think this was a good example of, like I said, just sort of getting crafty with vocal samples and like, chopping them up in creative ways where you can make it sound fresh throughout the track. Now, as far as the way I process this sound, again, pretty similar to what I was doing with everything else. I did a little bit of a bandpass filter, so here it is dry. No, 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 and then with the filter. And you can hear that just really helps to add that kind of like sampled burial vibe. Like, I feel like he does this a lot with his vocal samples. And yeah, it's just a really great way to achieve that kind of like, a little bit darker vibe. As well as it cleans it up and makes it fit in the mix a little bit better. And then after that, I just added a little bit of reverb, because there was nothing else in this mix that had any reverb, and the vocal chops are a good place to put a lot of reverb. Like, you can have the vocal chops be very wide and reverbed and all that kind of stuff, because like there's a lot of space between these. And typically in burial tracks, it's not the kind of vocal chops like you would hear in like, like an EDM pop song or something, where they just sort of hit you like rapid fire and they're very repetitive. With burial stuff and like future garage in general or whatever, it tends to be kind of more sparse. Like, it'll be like one little phrase like this that sort of, hangs over the whole thing. So you can use a lot of reverb. So yeah, so that's gonna be it for today, guys. Like I said, you can get the project file and samples for free in the description, so make sure to go check that out. Also make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and I will see you guys again tomorrow with another tutorial.